my name is Maggie Simmons, and I'm 12 years old and in the 8th grade. The show that I chose to design costumes for is The Little Mermaid Jr., with music by Alan Menken and lyrics by Howard Ashman and Glenn Slater. The characters that I am showcasing costumes for today are Ursula, Scuttle, Flounder, and Ariel. My first character, Ariel, is from Act 1, Scene 6. In this scene, Ariel is in her grotto in the ocean. One of the challenges I had with Ariel was how to make her look like she was under the sea. So I used a blue organza to make a wrap around her shoulders to create the effect that she was underwater. Next, I decided to keep part of her original look with the purple shells on her top and add a purple fabric that had a swirl printed on it. I noticed it would also contribute to the effect of her being underwater. Then I added a golden sequin embellishment around her neck and connected it to her top to add a little extra detail. The next challenge I had was how to figure out how to make a tail out of regular fabrics, so I came up with a simple solution. I made a skirt with the first 2 layers on the top made of green mesh fabric and separated each section with the same blue fabric I had used on her wrap. Then I designed the bottom 2 layers with a green sequin fabric to bring in some shine and resemble fish scales. Finally, for my last step, I added a silver starfish with a blue gem in the middle as an accessory in her hair. My second character is Scuttle. His costume is from Act 1, Scene 30. In this scene, Scuttle is telling Ariel about human stuff. My first step for Scuttle's costume was to create a simple shirt that I could put feathers on. So I used a textured white stretch corduroy type material that can easily be sewn on. Next, I used a white feather that I drew a feather pattern onto and cut into the shape of a feather. Then I used an orange, green, red, and gold striped fabric and made a vest, the top of his pockets, the bottom of his stockings, and the cuffs of his long-sleeved shirt with it. Then I designed baggy pants by using a thick, fuzzy white fabric that would move easily. I used black and orange nylon fabric to create 2 striped stockings to create the effect that he has bird legs. To finish the legs, I used orange felt to make bird feet, which would easily strap on over his jazz shoes. Finally, I used a feather trim to make a hat that would resemble the fluffy feathers on a seagull. My third character is Ursula. She's from Act 1, Scene 11. In this scene, Ursula sings to Ariel about why she should become a human. I designed Ursula having a long purple sequin dress that separates into tentacles at her waist. I made the top of her dress have a black shiny mesh on the right and left sides. At the bottom of the dress, I made the back of her large purple tentacles have silver fabric with gold sequins on them to represent the suction cups on a real octopus. I then made smaller tentacles with the same black fabric on the top of the dress and silver and gold fabric. I also used a gold and silver mesh to make a wrap that simulated tentacles where her arms are. Finally, I made a gold-orange spiral shell that would go in her hair or around her neck. This gold shell is supposed to be the one she captures Ariel's voice in, so I figured it should be gold to show that her voice is magic. My last character is Flounder. He is from Act 1, Scene 3. In this scene, he is talking to Ariel about how brave he is. I started my design with a simple yellow fabric that was used to make a jumpsuit. My next step was to make overalls with a blue sequin fabric and a light yellow organza fabric. I designed them as thin stripes and used a blue sequin embellishment for the suspender straps along with a yellow button to fasten them. Below his overall top, I created a belt with the same blue sequin material as the suspender straps. Then I made pants with a blue and black scales to represent real scales on a fish. For the bottom cuff on his pants, I used the same light yellow organza. I used blue and yellow mesh to make fins on the side of his legs and arms to make it seem like they were the fins on the side of the fish. Then I used blue and yellow felt to make some big shoe-like slippers and used a yellow ribbon for the shoelaces. I created a hat with the blue sequin fabric as the base and the same blue and yellow mesh for the top. This was meant to simulate the dorsal fin on a real fish. This concludes my presentation. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed my designs. Now, do you have any questions?
Yes, I do. Hey, very good. Okay, so sitting back and looking at them like this, the color palette and the intensity and everything tells me that this is all of one show. Does that make sense? No design stands out as not belonging to the other one. But on the other hand, doesn't look like a mush pot. Does that make sense? It looks like each one has its own color palette, but they all go together without matching, which is really good. Does it make sense? So you were able to give each person a personal look and make it look like part of the whole without them making them twinsies, which is excellent. You're 12?
Yes.
Okay, so if somebody came into our program with these sketches to see if they could come into our program, I would be pleased to accept them. We don't usually take 12-year-olds, but very good. Very, very good. Later on for sketching, what you're going to need to learn to do is what they call highlight and shadow, okay? Because right now it's a very coloring book style, and there's nothing wrong with that for this show, because this show is, it's Little Mermaid, it's an animated thing, okay? So that's totally understandable. So that could easily be the style for this. Later on, if you want to do something that's a little bit more realistic in a different type of show, you're going to have to learn what they call highlight and shadow or chiaroscuro, in which is making it a little bit more realistic in form. Doesn't, for a Disney thing, children's piece, not important at all. Excellent style for it, but just know that. And so that's what you would be working on if you came in with me. Does that make sense? But you're 12. You have a lot of time, so don't worry about that. You can work on that, okay? What I really love is what some others didn't have that you thought about, and that is texture. Because when you see costumes from a distance, if they're all solids or all flat, it looks flat. You need this texture on texture, you really do. You could even put a little bit more pattern in it, and it will not read as pattern from a distance. Many of you are working with theaters that are very, very small, and so you can't use that. But the minute you get into a larger house, 500 seats or more, you have to put a lot of pattern next to each other, and it won't look like that, okay? It will look almost like a solid, but it gives dimensionality to it, okay? So it gives it a texture. You put some texture in here, so we're okay, and it is an animated show coming to life, so it can be flatter, because animation is flatter, so it goes with that, okay? So that's great. But something to start thinking about is using more pattern. And people, your actors are going to go, this shirt doesn't go with this skirt. It doesn't match. Okay? And you're going to have to say, trust me, on stage, we will not see that pattern. But we'll see a texture, and a texture with the colors that go together, okay? But they're not going to believe you because they'll never see it. So, and you just smile and say, go out there on stage. Okay? Trust me. And it will be better. So the thing to do as a young designer is to go online and look at Broadway costumes and look close at them and realize the amount of pattern that is used in a lot of things, okay? Or as I'll talk out of both sides of the mouth, you go look at a Hamilton, and what they did is they streamlined everything. Do you follow me? And it's a lot of solid colors. So what you're doing is you've got both. Does that make sense? There's a lot of texture in a show and it's consistent. Or when you take a Hamilton where you've got period costume, which are shapes that are just not what our eye is used to. They've streamlined and taken out that so that you're looking, they've modernized it. Does it make sense? So you've got both going on right now. It's going to be interesting to see which way we go. Because look at a Wicked, and there's texture and pattern on tons of it. But then you go to a Hamilton, and it's completely different. So you have to see. Nice presentation. It's hard at 12 not to be reading this. So what you need to work on is being able to, you know this, you know exactly what this, you could look at the sketch and tell me what it's made out of. You didn't have to read that. Make eye contact. You want to sell it to a director, you need to make eye contact, because that's how you're getting your job, is selling it to an artistic director or to a director. You know all this, I can tell. But well thought out. I can't believe that you're 12. Maggie, this is excellent. You continue with this. Even if